All right, I'm making this weapons cleaning video for my buddy Caleb. All right, first of all, before we start off, anytime you're going to clean your weapons, all right, depending on what time of day it is, you either need coffee, all right, and you can listen to rock music, all right, or if it's later in the evening, you need a cold beer, all right, and then you can listen to country music, all right. I'm drinking Yinling because it's the most American beer there is, and we're cleaning weapons, so which is one of the most American things we can do. All right, so first and foremost, all right, I like to keep everything in the toolbox. And the reason is whether I'm cleaning my rifle, my pistol, sometimes I'm cleaning both of these things, or my shotgun. I've got everything in the toolbox. It's easy to grab. I also like these terry cloths because they're real easy to clean everything with. All right, they're nice and soft. I can even use them on my optics if I get my optics dirty. All right, this is cleaning oil. I think regular CLP, which stands for Clean, Lubricate, Protect, is great. All right, we don't have to anything fancy. All right, support my Frogman brothers out there though. There is this stuff called Frogman Lube that you can buy. It's good for your weapons. And for sprays, I like Rim Oil. All right, it's always good to have some of these little cloth cleaning 4x4s or 2x2s, all right, to help. I always keep Q-tips in there. All right, some people say you want these other type of applicators. I think Q-tips are fine. All right, some people are concerned about the fuzz getting on there, but you can always pull like a little bit of the fuzz off and just put some CLP on there. All right. Next thing is a bore snake. All right. I like these bore snakes for cleaning my barrel. All right. I always have a Leatherman in my kit. All right. This comes in handy. All right. And we have two types of brushes. All right. We have a nylon brush and a metal brush. All right. And remember this, metal always goes on metal, nylon always goes on the plastic. Okay. And I've got a couple other little brushes here that I like to do things with. Additionally, it's not really a bad idea to have a clear eye pro on. All right. I normally just say screw it. All right. But I'd be lying if I hadn't told you I was going too hard with the brushes before, just too vigorous and got stuff in my eye. So that's what the beer's for. I just pour that on my eye and get that stuff out. Okay. Moving along, gloves. All right. I don't like getting that black carbon all over my hands, so I always put gloves on. All right. And if you're going to shoot red dot, all right, it's nice to have a little bit of masking tape to put over your red dot or your green dot, whichever one you're shooting. All right. And put that over there. That way, if you're spraying anything, you don't get spray all in there, or your hands are just going to get dirty and you're going to grab it and then you're going to get fingerprints all over your red dot. And then you have to use your terry cloth. They make specific wipes to clean these things, but nobody really buys them. Uh, or the Q-tip to clean out the dot. So, but if you tape it, you don't have to worry about it too much. All right, so right now I'm gonna be taking apart my SIG P320 Wilson Combat. So on this side of the weapon, right here, okay, is the takedown. All right. Always be sure that you remove your magazines and clear and safe your weapons. Ensure there's not a round in there before you start cleaning it. All right. For me, I'm going to hit the takedown lever. All right. So it looks like this on this side. Okay. The takedown lever has been taken down. All right. I'm going to push the slide back. I'm going to pull the trigger and it's going to slide right off. Now my weapon's in two pieces. All right. A lot of people shoot Glock and Shadow Systems and they're slightly different. Okay, instead of just having a lever, they've got two pins on each side. And I can't remember if that's the way your weapon was or not. Okay, all right. I like Shadow Systems, a good Texas-based company. All right, out of Plano. All right. Um, so if you're gonna take down a Glock, all right, or Shadow Systems, you got two pins on each side. You got to push those both down. Right. You got to send the slide forward and then pull the trigger, and then it'll slide right off. So that's how you take one of those apart. All right. I always like to clean my magazines first. All right. A lot of people neglect them. All right. But here's where this bristle brush comes in handy. Okay. I like to get all the gunk off my magazines. From time to time, you're going to have to take your magazines apart and stretch the springs back out. All right. But what I wouldn't want to do is take my metal brush and just gouge, all right, my magazines right here on the follower. Okay. I just like to get all the gunk off. All right. And then wipe my magazines down. And with the way I teach, we're always dropping our magazines. Then we take some of the CLP and just rub it on there. Okay. Lightly. Just put it on my glove and rub it on. And then I wipe it off lightly. And then it's nice and protected and lubricated. All right. So I like to do my magazines first so I don't forget about them. All right. Next, we have the frame. What's important? All right. You can normally take these apart and see where all the working pieces are because they're more marked. All right. But I normally take my terry cloth. I just wipe everything out. All right. And then I can look and see where I need to get in there with Q-tips and get more of that carbon off. Get it all out. This is where we get a lot, okay, in here. All right. Underneath these pins. Okay. Another place we get them is down in here. All right. Anything that's metal, I want to be sure I get all the carbon off. Okay. And remember, if I needed to use, all right, a bristle brush, metal goes to metal. All right. And plastic takes nylon. Okay. We don't want to gouge it or ruin it. Okay. Another thing I like to do with these brushes is I'll take my terry cloth and I'll shove it up the magazine well. And I'll clear all that out too. So I run it through just like that. We can spray with our rim oil or use our CLP, whatever we think or whatever we like. All right, I just found this pretty easy. All right, and I'll usually spray a little bit on my fingers because I got gloves on, and I'll run that up into the magazine. Well, and I'll just rub this all around. I'll see if I got any more dirty places. All right, I don't, and it's nice and lubricated here. All right, next, when you take down the slide, we just take off our spring by pressing down, and our barrel lifts right out. Okay, and here's what I'm talking about. See how dirty this is right here? Okay, all right, this is where metal gets on, slides on metal and everything else. And we want to be sure this is nice and clean. All right, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and give it a pre-spray or a pre-rub with your CLP. If your CLP comes like this, and it's got this little red cap in here, all right, don't throw this red cap away. All right, screw this back on. What's nice about the CLP is you can control how much you're going to put on there. All right, remember it is clean, lubricate, protect, so we can put it on there first, then go in there. All right, I'm going to hit the metal places first. All right, with my metal bristle brush. All right, and the slide on the P320 is all metal, so I don't have to worry about using the nylon one. And here's a place right up in here. A lot of people forget. This is where the firing pin comes out, right? And we want to be sure and get that too. And you can tell if I hadn't taped my red dot while I was rubbing right here and it had CLP, all right, or anything else right there, it would just be taking that, splashing it all over my red dot right now. And then I'd have to wipe it off with terry cloth and smear it, and I'd have just CLP or rim oil all over it. So taping it's really a good idea. All right. Then after I do that, right, I also want to be sure I get along the grooves right here on the inside of the slide. Okay. So I'll just run my brush a couple times through there. All right. I'll use my Q-tips down here around the finer portions of the weapon. Be sure I get all the black and gunk out of there. All right. And I wipe it out with my terry cloth. All right. This area too, right where the barrel goes and right where the spring goes here. I like to wipe these out as well. They can get pretty gummed up sometimes with carbon. Okay. Then I just give it a little spray or rub with the CLP, whichever one you have. All right. I kind of find that the spray is nice, and then I just kind of rub it all around with my finger. All right. Then I've got my spring. Okay. So just wipe my spring off with my terry cloth. Spray it with the rim oil, and that's kind of nice right there with that spray. Okay. Next, I've got my barrel, and this is really where this bore snake comes in handy. So what I like to do before I run my bore snake through there is be sure this part is all clean. And again, all right, we can spray a little bit or we can rub a little bit or a combination of both, whatever you like. And I clean all this before I run my bore snake through, because whatever little crud comes off of here and falls down in my barrel, my bore snake will clean out. But I also try to wipe it off first before I run my bore snake through there. And then people often neglect this little groove too, and that's where that pin inside the frame goes, right? So just clean all of these areas, right? We don't want to neglect an area. Some people have these like speed videos on how to clean your pistol quickly. It's a pistol. It's not a rifle. It's all pretty quick. It takes you less than 5 minutes when you're not explaining everything that you're trying to do. If you get thirsty, drink some of your Yinling along the way if it's taking you too long. All right. So wipe your barrel down. And then what I like to do on my bore snake is just a little bit of back. You can buy these on Amazon for like next to nothing. So, all right, just be sure you get the right caliber for your weapon system. All right, this is 9mm. Most of them are color coded, and you just run it through. You can run it through a couple times, and then what you want to do is you want to look up at your light and just be sure you've got everything out of there and you don't see any little specks of anything. All right, so now it's time to put it back together. What we're going to do, hold our slide like so. Here's our barrel, fits right in. Then we go with our spring. Now, some of you will have different shaped springs, right? Some are oval, some are round. Mine is oval, okay? And if mine's turned long ways, my slide won't fit back on my handle. So it's got to be like this. So mine's particular that way. So when you take yours apart, especially if it's the first time, notice how your spring is orientated. That way you can put it back together correctly, all right? Not wonder why it's not fitting. All right. Now all we do, okay, is push everything back together. I got these slide guides right here. All right. On the frame, I line them on up. I slide it in. I lock it back, my slide lock. And then I just slap my lever in place. All right. And I send my slide forward. Okay. And then we want to do a function set check. So pull the trigger. Good. It's fired. Now I'm going to keep the trigger pulled back, just like so. I'm going to wrap the slide, and I should hear a clunk. There we go. It reset. So there we go. All right. So now it should fire again. Good. And that's my function check right there. All right. Now that you've got it like this, be sure that any of the CLP that's leaked out on the side, okay, or spray, all right, you wipe it all off. What you don't want to do when you grab your weapon is have CLP or rim oil all over the outside, so it's greasing your hands, right? Okay, I'll even wipe my gloves off too a little bit if I used a lot of my gloves. Then I'll take the tape off my red dot, okay, and just ensure that it doesn't have any gunk in there. If it does, all right, I'll just use my little Q-tip, all right, and I'll kind of wipe it out, all right, kind of wipe this side, all right. And this stuff is really soft cotton. We don't have to worry about scratching anything unless we're stabbing it, okay. All right, and that's a nice clear picture. Okay, so that's how we're going to clean our weapon system for our pistol. All right, again, taking them down, each manufacturer is a little bit different, but they're pretty close to all being the same. All right, and now you can celebrate by drinking more of your Yuengling or your leftist tears. I mean, coffee. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, if you want to learn how to defend yourself or shoot like a Navy SEAL, go to www.awctactical, all right, and learn how to do those things. Take care. Have a good night.